This conference will now be recorded.
So officially, and the conference will be posted on the Chamber's website later this afternoon. I also want to let you know that we're pleased to have our friends from the media that also participating on this call, and that we welcome them, and I'd respectfully ask everyone to put their phones on and their computers on mute, and until we get to the questions and answered period of the presentation. I do want to let you folks know that this has been an interesting week at the Chamber. We will have another conference call on Tuesday. And those of you that typically are presenters, we're going to give you a week's break because we're going to dedicate the entire hour to our friends at Nacogdoches Medical Center to give us a comprehensive overview of the whole COVID-19 situation. And we're going to dedicate a full hour to CEO Jeff Patterson and his very talented crew. So that's a program you'll want to put on your calendar. And again, that'll be Tuesday the 9th at 10 a.m. I know that most of you are probably wondering who I am. I did get a haircut yesterday. When someone told me I looked like a little Dutch boy, I decided that it was time to find a barber someplace and run the risk of getting a haircut. So here I am, all neatly coiffed and ready for this conference call. I'm going to take things a little out of order, thanks to John's gracious willingness to allow somebody who's on a very tight time constraint. We'll start this morning with hearing from Betty Russo, the regional representative for Governor Greg Abbott. Good morning, Betty.
Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. As everyone knows, Governor Abbott announced phase 3 to open Texas yesterday, and I'm just going to quickly go over that. Under phase 3, effective immediately, all businesses in Texas will be able to operate at up to 50% capacity with very limited exceptions. Business that previously have been able to operate at 100% capacity may continue to do so, and most outdoor areas are not subject to capacity limits. As with previous phases, the phase 3 plan is based on the advice and support of the 4 doctors on the strike force to open Texas medical team. And that's mine, I'm sorry. Via executive order, phase 3 begins immediately. Effective yesterday, all businesses currently operating at 25% capacity can expand their occupancy to 50% with certain exceptions. Bars and similar establishments may increase their capacity to 50% as long as patrons are seated. Amusement parks and carnivals in counties with less than 1,000 confirmed positive cases may open at 50% capacity. Restaurants may expand their maximum table size from 6 to 10 persons. And effective June 12th, restaurants may expand their occupancy levels to 75%. I think that one is really going to be a big help to these restaurants, I think. That's what a lot of them were saying, that they couldn't operate under that. And of course, they need to be at 100, but at least 75% is getting them there. And effective June 19th, amusement parks and carnivals in counties with more than 1,000 confirmed positive cases of COVID-19 may open at 50% capacity. And additional openings include special provisions that have been made for outdoor gatherings such as 4th of July celebrations. But it is imperative that local officials and public health officials collaborate on safe standards. Now, please remember, I'm here to help in any way. If you have any questions, if your businesses have questions on any of these, there are checklists on gov.texas.gov/opentexas. It's a very, very long list of checklists that give some guidelines on what to do and how to do it. They're very helpful. But also, if you need, I can give you my email and phone number if you need to reach out to me if you have specific questions, and I can find out for you. Of course, the mayors and county judges still need to reach out to the Attorney General for rulings on specific things. Anything legal is we can't do anything with that. It has to go through the Attorney General. And basically, I guess that's about it that I have today. And I appreciate everyone being on here, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Betty, and we really appreciate the leadership that you and Governor Abbott are showing on these very challenging issues. And it's great to have a resource like you available with the willingness to keep us up to date. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, I've had the privilege in my career of working with the United States Chamber of Commerce for the better part of probably 40 years, over 20 of those under contract to them for the Institute program. And I've got to tell you, there's no organization that I've been affiliated with that I think provides better representation of the American business community than the U.S. Chamber. We'll begin our program today hearing from Mr. John Gonzales, the Director of the South Central Region, Congressional Public Affairs for the United States Chamber of Commerce. John spent a great deal of his time representing Texas businesses on state and federal level. I can tell you firsthand that he provides critical information to those of us in the chamber community, including almost a constant update of developments associated with COVID-19 and other issues. And Texas and the Southwest region of the United States couldn't have a better representative. John, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Wayne. Hope everybody can hear me. Great to see everyone. First, let me say thank you to you, Wayne, and your team for all the great work you are doing for your members and the Nacogdoches community. I mean, local and state chambers have been on the front lines of this historic pandemic and economic struggle, working with local and state and federal officials daily. Our small businesses are making real-time decisions based on the information you and us are providing them. So thank you for your leadership and partnership with us as we continue to review the ongoing legislation, regulations, and ever-changing policy guidelines. So I want to begin today. Again, thank you for everyone for being on the call and supporting the chamber. But I want to begin today with a quote from our Vice President of Small Business Policy, Tom Sullivan, from just last week in an article that was actually out west. But he said, quite simply, we view local chambers of commerce and civic groups as the economic emergency rooms for businesses throughout the country. These are nonprofits that have hosted SBA officials, elected members of Congress, CDC officials, public health experts, unemployment experts, and others to help businesses, the business community survive. Providing PPP funding for local chambers would extend a much needed lifeline to businesses around the country, end quote. I think, I'm pretty sure that we would all agree with that statement. So we continue to help to make chambers of commerce eligible for PPP loans under the CARES Act. Now, the House, you may have seen, passed a bill last week, and a Texas member was co-sponsored that bill that was making some really good improvements to the PPP program. So that bill passed last week that extends the loan term from 8 weeks to 24 weeks, lowers the percentage of loan proceeds that must be used on payroll from 75 to 60, and then extends the PPP from June 30th till the end of the year, December 30th of this year. So we were supportive of that legislation. There probably could have been more things done, but it literally only had one vote against it. So up to date as possible on this call, the Senate last night took up that bill from the House bill, and they passed it by unanimous consent. So that specific improvement to the PPP under the CARES Act can now be signed by the president. But unfortunately, the House bill did not include C6s. So we still may have an opportunity to get that included in a larger Senate bill. We'll have to wait and see. And as many of you all know, the Senate is back in session. They started back on Monday, and they will take up either whatever you want to call it. It's either Phase 4 or CARES 2.0, and hopefully it could be completed by the July 4th recess. But as we know, difficulty on the House side with voting, but the Senate's goal right now is to get this to work the entire month of June to get this passed by the July 4th recess. It will no doubt include liability protection or provide safe harbor for healthcare workers, business owners, and employees from lawsuits pertaining to the COVID-19 outbreak. Leader McConnell from Kentucky emphasized that any future relief efforts must include these protections. And our very own Senator Cornyn is the point senator on this legislation. So we're very supportive of this, and we're going to be working with not only Senator Cornyn, but many of the senators, and hopefully, and we're pretty certain this is going to be a bipartisan bill. Other items expected to be included are in this CARES Act 2.0 will be surprise billing, surprise medical billing reform, unemployment reform, state and local government funding is all likely to be part of that bill. So it's likely that the Senate will take, again, like I said, up all of June working on this legislation. So you will need, well, my ask is for you to continue contacting your elected officials to assist them with this legislation as it moves forward. They really value your input. They hear from us all the time, and Wayne knows this better than anybody, that when our elected officials hear from their districts, from businesses in their district, is when it's weighs the heaviest. So they hear from us all the time. Finally, well, maybe not finally, I added something early this morning. We've created a webinar that it's about a 25-minute long a virtual piece that talks about the loan forgiveness process and answers some of the most frequent questions that we get from business regarding the forgiveness process of PPP. So it's 25 minutes. It's kind of long, but it really is a deep dive for your member companies that have received a PPP loan and are now looking at that next phase of the forgiveness part. Both the guide and the webinar are available at our U.S. Chamber website. It's uschamber.com/PPP forgiveness, and you'll be able to watch that. It's a great little ad or explanation from Neil Bradley, who is our national policy officer and senior VP and all around great guy. So as Wayne mentioned, I cover 8 states for the U.S. Chamber. Me and a colleague, we're headquartered here in Dallas, and I will tell you all the surrounding states that I cover and work with their state chambers and local chambers. And I know Senator Nichols knows this. Texas continues to be the envy of all our neighboring states and beyond. I hear it all the time at meetings with the state chambers and elected officials and all these other surrounding states of ours, that they always say we need to be more like Texas if we want to compete with Texas. So thank you all, and thanks Senator to the governor and Senator Nichols for keeping Texas #1, and hopefully we'll get through all this quickly. As far as COVID, you know, the hardest hit state was Louisiana that we cover. New Orleans was that hotbed of COVID, but all the states have seemed to be recovering well now. They're all at least in a phase 1 reopening. Oklahoma's way ahead of us, of everyone. They started their phase 1 reopening late April, April 24th, I think about a week or more before we did. And on June 1st, they started phase 3. So they're starting to really feel the benefits of the greater openings there in Oklahoma. Some good news that we not have been that hasn't been widely reported, and I know Senator Nichols knows this, but quietly oil prices have stabilized and have increased into the mid 30s. So that's really great news for not only Texas but Oklahoma, New Mexico, Louisiana. It's really good to see that oil prices are stabilizing. That's going to be a huge help for not only us, the entire nation. And finally, just yesterday, the U.S. Chamber announced that we will hold a national town hall on Thursday, June 25th, as part of an ongoing initiative to address inequality of opportunity through education, employment, and entrepreneurship, and criminal justice reform. So stay tuned for more information on that soon. We're going to make this a really robust effort, and we're going to need all our local and state chambers to participate to make this something that we really can get done for the country. So with that, Wayne, I'm happy to take questions, or I can just hang out and wait for something fun to happen.
Well, thank you, John. And I think you'll be pleased to know that I sent out this morning to my board of directors authorization to engage in the initiative on the 25th. And I've been glancing over at my emails, and it looks like everybody's on board. So you can probably at this point count the Nacogdoches Chamber in, and we'll be a partner with the U.S. Chamber. We really appreciate everything you're doing. Questions for Mr. Gonzales?
We're good.
Well, it sounds like we took care of everything. Well, John, we're pleased you can hang out with us for a little while here. So
sure.
So having said that, we'll move on with the agenda. And again, thank you, John, and please extend to Tom Donahue and that great staff at the U.S. Chamber our appreciation for all you guys are doing. If you go to our website, you'll see that we've pirated every piece of information that we could get from you folks, and it's an unbelievable resource and very helpful to our members, and we appreciate it.
That's what it's there for.
Well, let's continue with the program. I'm pleased to welcome the president of the Stephen F. Austin State University, Dr. Scott Gordon. Good morning, Dr. Gordon.
Good morning, and I hope everybody's doing well. We are working to open SFA, and those announcements have gone out to our students, our faculty and staff. To give you a little bit of a glimpse into what this means, we are going to be very flexible this fall. We're putting out a campaign that Lumberjacks Flex, and that's flexing for our students flex, we flex, our faculty flex, and we're going to have on-campus options with social distancing, face-to-face, so therefore face-to-face classes. Our housing and dining will be open. Throughout the month of June, we will be putting details out about how we're going to do this with proper social distancing and PPE. We're going to have expanded online offerings, and also the expansion of what we're calling accelerated offerings. And so there'll be more options than ever before for students and faculty. We are in the process of equipping about 80 new classrooms with technologies to support remote learning opportunities, and we've been receiving a lot of positive feedback. You know, we're in a situation where we have some students who are afraid to come back. Well, we have opportunities for them to continue their education in a distance format. We have a lot of students who don't want that distance format and want to be on campus. We have those opportunities for the students to be on campus as well in a face-to-face setting with proper social distancing. As far as our employees go, we are in the process of an employee return to work phased system. This phase system will conclude on July 7th, where all of our employees will have returned to their normal work locations in a normal schedule, unless some alternative work arrangement has been approved for those who may have some immunocompromised state and so on. All of our buildings will be back to regular hours, normal operation. And so between now and July 7th, we are, supervisors are going to be working with their employees and making all the necessary arrangements for those individuals to come back to work. So again, this phased approach is very much after the guidance of the governor's office and the CDC, and we are looking at possible schedule scenarios for the fall that again, we're going to start on August 24th like normal, but there may be an option out there to finish before the Thanksgiving break, and that's gaining some traction. No decision yet has been made. So lots of flexibility with online, hybrid, face-to-face, accelerated options, and what we hope is that we'll be able to really meet the needs of students with a variety of needs, interests, and concerns. And that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Any questions of President Gordon?
The one last thing, all of this information and more details are on our website. When you go to the sfasu.edu website, Open SFA has all of the information and many more details.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate that update, and very impressed with the flexibility you folks have had in addressing these many different issues. Pleased to have join us this morning Senator Robert Nichols. Senator Nichols, it's great to have you with us. I did not share that tax information with anybody, so you can feel free to update our folks on that information.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Fine, sir.
Okay, appreciate the invitation to be on the call. Good to see all y'all again. I don't have a whole lot to report that most of y'all have not already heard about, but it was good to hear from John Gonzales that the federal government is working on the liability issue related to COVID-19. As I had mentioned to y'all previously, once a week, all 31 senators in the state get together on a conference call. That's ours and D's together, going over issues, and it seems to be a bipartisan concern that the legal industry, you might say, will inundate businesses with this issue if it's not protected. And so I'm glad the federal government is going to work in that direction. Probably the hottest thing going on, of course, are the riots and the protesters. Seems a little more quiet in East Texas, but I was literally on the phone with somebody working in Austin, one block from the Capitol, just a while ago, and they still have significant problems down there. The rioters actually got on the Capitol grounds and sprayed some buildings, not our actual Capitol, although they were headed toward it. Knocked down some minor stuff, but the buildings in the downtown business area have a lot of graffiti on them, and the police have told those people, do not go to work until next Tuesday. And when you do, leave before noon. I just thought y'all might be interested in that. I'm on a work group that gets together, amazingly enough, every Tuesday, just about the same time as this meeting, and in the Senate. And it's Senate Finance, and we're working, trying to get way ahead the best we can on next year's budget, the 2-year budget we'll be putting together when we go in. And the reason we've started so early is because of the impact. It's quite great to the state in a lot of different areas. You heard John Gonzales mention the some of the numbers, but our sales tax is almost accounts for 60% of our state budget. So sales tax alone accounts for that much. And month of May compared to last May was a year ago, it's down like 13.8%. In the worst of the 07-09 period, it wasn't that bad. But when you get into other categories besides just general sales tax, automobile sales were off 38%. So the revenues the state gets from that are down. Oil and gas, he was saying the price is stabilized, but the revenue that the state gets is a combination of both price and volume of production. And May to May, it was down 75%. And the impact to our budget is 25% of that, or 1/4 of the oil and gas goes to public education. And we were already going to be tight. So we're trying to keep up with where we are and what the projection is going to be. We're meeting with the comptroller next Tuesday morning and to try to get updated numbers. There is literally billions and billions of dollars pouring into the state from the federal government. You would think it would be ridiculous that it's hard to keep up with where all it's going, but the federal government doesn't necessarily tell us where it's going. They write checks, and then we start trying to follow up later with where it went, who got what, and how it can be used. They're writing the rules on those as we go. For instance, $3.2 billion went to counties and cities of a population above 500,000. Now, my question is, what about the rest of us? And the answer was, the math they used was $175 per person times the population. And, but it did not go directly to anybody under 500,000. So I've got 19 counties. Montgomery County got a check for literally $105 million to be used on a 23-page list of things they can spend it on. And if you read it, you would be pretty amazed. Yet the allocation to all the rest of us is about I think it's $55 per person. Nacogdoches County could apply for a portion of that now, but it has to be used for COVID-related expenses. Excuse me. The unemployment, Texas Workforce Commission is still processing unemployment claims. That first week after the shutdown, they got hammered with 1.3 million applications. Pretty much overloaded their systems. They've been processing about 1/3 of a million a week. Since the COVID hit, they have now processed what typically would be 4 years of unemployment claims. They've done it in 90 days, less than 90 days. I don't know how much longer this is going to last, but the unemployment portion of the budget obviously is way over what we normally would get. So that's going to have a pretty negative impact to our budget. So looking pretty grim for the state budget, but we'll work our way through it and know a lot more later. The probably only other thing I would like to add is congratulations to Travis Clardy on his new grandson. So if anybody have any questions of me.
Any questions for Senator Nichols? Well, Senator, thank you very much for that update, and we're delighted to have you on this call, obviously. And speaking of Travis, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. I was behind the camera. This is Donna McCollum from East Texas News. Senator, I was just curious. I believe it was last week, some of the top state officials talked about how to work out the opioid settlement similar to the tobacco settlement. Do you know how that money will be distributed here in East Texas and how it will be used? I may be a little premature on this question, but I'm just curious.
No, it's a good question. That has not been worked out. I'm assuming it will be worked out legislatively, or at least a combination between the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. I don't know if they'll wait till next session or if it'll get resolved before then. So I cannot answer your question.
That's quite all right. Thank you very much.
Any
All
other
right.
questions for Senator Nichols?
Y'all have a great week.
Thank you, Senator. I am pleased to welcome to you our state representative, Travis Clardy. Travis hosts a program on Friday. I always try to give him a plug on that. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it's a great program, and it's Friday afternoon. I assume there's going to be one this Friday. Representative Clardy, welcome aboard.
All right, thank you, Wayne. And Senator, thank you for that shout out. That is my big news for the day. It's been an exciting month for us. We, had Blake and Leah had their son, Nolan Travis, born on the floor of their apartment in New York City. And Gus and Georgina didn't make it quite so exciting. So she went in and a little bit of inducement there, but he arrived. Mama, baby, you're doing great. He will be named Henry Augustus Clardy, 7 pounds, 8 ounces, like 20.5 inches long. And so he's going in for a procedure before he comes home, take a little something off the top, and then he'll be back home. Hopefully I'll get to see him this evening when I roll over to Fort Worth to see them. But they're all doing well. So that's exciting. So there is some good news. There is life during the coronavirus and protest. There are good things happening in the world. So a couple things, Senator, I appreciate you mentioning what's going on at the Capitol. Earlier this week, I was told by my chief of staff that we had the troopers were called in because two things we knew we wanted to protect. One's our Capitol, and the other is the Alamo. And so great efforts were made to secure those locations and protect them. There's folks that are protesting. There's some people in Nacogdoches across the street. We're in front of the Gateway statue. And they were being very polite and had their signs and were expressing themselves in an entirely appropriate way. And I walked across, talked to them a little bit, and thanked them. And that's been what's happening around East Texas. Jacksonville had a march. I think Lufkin's had one. And folks are behaving themselves, but again, exercising their First Amendment rights, which they should be able to do. And I'm pleased with the way East Texas are taking this situation and taking it very seriously. I think we all know in our heart of hearts this has been a problem that's been here too long. And I talked about it on my show last Friday about what happened up in Minneapolis. As I said then, and I believe now, that wasn't some questionable event. That was murder. And, we've seen it too much. I'm tired of that story. I think we all are. I've seen excessive use of police force in situations where it's just in no way warranted. And it's going to be addressed. And we are taking that seriously. That said, and I haven't heard anybody defend the actions of those law enforcement officers or former law enforcement officers, nor have I heard anybody take up and condone looting and stealing and criminal behavior. And so we have a whole lot of common ground, but this is a very touchy, emotional issue for everybody. And hopefully this will subside and we can approach this in a sober and responsible way. But in the Capitol, we had our troopers, about 300-400, literally sleeping on the marble floors of the rotunda. And if you've ever tried to rest on marble, it's not particularly comfortable. So we were able to get my hallway. We opened up our offices so they had to come in and at least have some carpet and bring some mats and get on sofas or whatever. So that's worked out well. We got them fed and kind of lined up meals for the troopers as they defended and protected our Capitol. So hopefully that's the cooler heads are prevailing in that regard. So other things, here's some great news. We kind of the coronavirus seems to have gone the way of the murder hornet. It was big news, and all of a sudden it's no news. So let's come back to the coronavirus for a moment. I think I said last week we were going to have testing in our Pilgrim's Pride plant here in Nacogdoches, and also we were able to get Tatum to come in and do the testing in the Nacogdoches County Jail because we'd had a confirmed case there. We're afraid it had gotten into that population. The great news is out of, I think, around 230 inmates and 50, 60 staff people that are in and out, 0 reported COVID cases. That was very, very good news. Likewise, the 1,200 or so tests performed at Pilgrims resulted in a handful of positive cases, all identified, appropriate actions taken. And, we've continued our other local testing, and it does appear that the curve has flattened. We have now gone through that period. I thought we may see a bump or a surge of cases following Mother's Day and the opening of the economy. It really hasn't happened. I think the warm weather's having something to do with it. I think the other thing is people are more careful about if they're sick, if they have a cold, they have sniffles, they're coughing or sneezing, they don't go out and they stay away from others, and people are taking their own precautions, washing their hands and all the things we do. So that I think is working for us. We'll get another look at it. The governor did expand the reopening of the Texas economy, I think in again an incremental way, which is appropriate. But I'm really hoping that when we see the numbers from Memorial Day and this weekend, which will come out June 10th, June 20th, kind of that time period, when those numbers come in, that we're going to see that, again, I don't think we're going to see a big bump or surge. We may see some new cases. The virus has not gone away. And I do expect next fall, when the days get shorter and it gets colder and wetter and damper, that it's going to come back. And could be a very difficult time then in conjunction with the regular seasonal flu. But I think we're in a great place. We're doing well. I'm hoping by July 4th we have a true Independence Day, and that means everything is wide open and we're back to business as usual. Just a little more careful about things. So that's, I think, where we are on the coronavirus issue. And again, I think there are some favorable trends. Robert mentioned the oil and gas price stabilizing, and that's true. It needs to stabilize a little higher than where it is. I've told people, and we can struggle by maybe at a $35, $40 barrel, but we really need to get it back up closer to 50 before session starts, and we're still going to have a shortfall. But the decline of that has probably had as big of an impact on our projected budget shortfalls as has the COVID situation, because we're seeing the economy bounce back pretty quick. I'm encouraged by what the market's doing. So that's it for my report. I would remind you that this Friday, 3 o'clock, I'll probably be doing this with little Henry in my lap from Fort Worth. So we'll do the show there. So if you have questions or thoughts or comments, shoot them to me or to Jerry Jones, and we'll go live on Facebook Live 3 o'clock Friday and talk about all the things that are going crazy in this world in 2020. And I've got my fingers crossed. Usually these things come in threes, and we are in the middle of hurricane season. So I hope I didn't just jinx this, but we'll make it through that too. So anyway, great seeing everybody. Y'all have a good rest of the week. I'll take any questions, and thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, Representative Clardy. Any questions for Representative Clardy?
Yes, I have a question, please. I've heard that some of our police from smaller areas are being moved to the more metropolitan cities to help defend the spaces, the protesters and the buildings and things. Is that happening a lot?
No, and to be clear, it's not happening with our municipal forces. So, our police, municipal forces stay where they are, and that's their job. We have seen a transfer out of our Texas DPS offices. And so to that point, it's a great question. I contacted the Lieutenant Colonel with the DPS about that because our sister city to the west, Jacksonville, had been notified that there was going to be a march and a peaceful demonstration, but they were also getting through social media that there may be a violent protest or something break out last night. Now, nothing happened, but in light of that, we alerted the DPS. The DPS said, well, we're on the skeletal staff because everybody went to Dallas. So we were able to get them in communication. They reviewed the perceived threats, and we weren't able to return because it's important to have that, that black and white Texas DPS presence makes a difference when they look out. And so that was able to happen. So I understand, but it's frankly symptomatic. It's emblematic, I should say, of what we've seen throughout this and other situations. And that is, what John, you mentioned this in your presentation with Senator Nichols and the money all going to the big cities and big counties. It's been that way with everything. As I told our folks, we're on our own out here. Don't expect the state or federal cavalry to come over to the hill. Despite how well we vote and how well we support things and how we truly are the backbone of this state and this nation, we will continue to be overlooked and taken for granted. We're the prodigal son that didn't get the party, and so we're just gonna have to hang in here, and that's all right. We all know we can handle it. We don't need any help from Big Brother. Same is true here. They're going to take some of our law enforcement officers, DPS guys, but like I said, the people I've seen protesting with their signs on North Street, the university, across on Main Street, are doing it the right way. Nobody's throwing bricks through windows. Nobody's burning cars. Nobody's assaulting police officers. That's just not how we do things. So maybe they do need our help in the city more than we need theirs.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Representative Clardy? If not, again, thank you, Travis,
Thanks,
for joining us. It's great, and congratulations.
Thank you.
My understanding is Larissa was having some difficulty. Larissa Philpott, the president and CEO of NEDCO, in connecting. I don't know if she's been able to reconnect. Larissa, are you with us? Well, apparently they have not resolved those problems as yet, so we'll continue along. Nancy Wyndham had indicated she may join us from the car. Nancy, are you with us? Moving right along, social services, Gary Lee Ashcraft. I saw Gary was online. Gary Lee?
I'm with you. I want
He has never sounded better.
real quick. I'm going to have Caroline Garn. Hello?
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Nod your head.
We can
yes,
now.
no. No. No, Caroline.
What?
Can you hear me?
Okay, you're kind of coming and going. Okay. He's going to try to fix his problems, but he has a report to give you guys, and he was going to go first, but we're going to flip-flop here while he fixes his problems. I'm going to tell you guys about a program that has brought, in the last couple of years, $119,000 to Nacogdoches County. That's exciting, right? You go late in the meeting, you have to come in with a teaser like that. That's the EFSP program, and I think that Gary did mention it to you guys in a past meeting, but that's the Emergency Food and Shelter Program, and it's administered by FEMA. So probably you guys are all thinking hurricane now, but FEMA does much more than that, and they are wise to realize that emergencies don't only come in with hurricanes. This is more for the day-to-day emergencies. This is something that FEMA chose the United Way Worldwide, our parent organization, to administer. That's based in Alexandria, Virginia. So it is administered by United Way Worldwide, and it trickles down to local United Ways, such as ours here in Nacogdoches County. I learned about it at a conference a couple of years ago. And what's great is this shows the power of the United Way network. First of all, that FEMA, out of all the other organizations that could have chosen to administer this program, they chose United Way Worldwide. That's one side of it. And then the other side is that it is in turn assigned to local communities based on poverty levels. And it's up to the local communities to decide how that money is to be spent. So our Nacogdoches Area United Way is getting a grant from FEMA, which to me is pretty huge. We're small but mighty. That's what we like to call ourselves. It was allocated to Nacogdoches County based on poverty and unemployment statistics. That's how the amount was determined to come to us. And it was up to us to go ahead and administer that. First step was to place a notice in the Daily Sentinel, just inviting people to different social organizations, not people. This is not to go directly to individuals. This goes to help fund other 501c3s in the community that deal with the needs related to poverty and unemployment. We received applications. Then we convened a local board. The local board composition is specified by the national board. We have a representative of the Red Cross, the Catholic Charities, a Christian representative, a representative from Salvation Army, a government representative, and somebody representing the homeless, as well as United Way representative. That is to reflect the national board, and that is as required. So that brings in a good mix from the community to help determine what the needs are and how to allocate the funds to address these needs. We have been doing this, as I said, for a couple of years now. We've gone through 4 phases. They call these phases, rather than saying it's the 2018 EFSP, it would be like phase 35, then 36. And we just recently allocated phase 37. And in addition to phase 37, we were able to additionally allocate funding that went along with the CARES Act. So we just allocated phase 37 and phase CARES. Initially, for the first 2 phases, we had 4 of our local social service agencies participate. We had Hope, Love Inc., Salvation Army, and the Senior Citizen Center initially participate. Then in this last round for phase 37 and phase CARES, we were excited to also welcome Boys and Girls Club to the mix. Especially glad to get these agencies this extra money for the CARES Act. Hope had seen in April a 245% increase in the food demands over the previous year. Love Inc. and Salvation Army have had a huge jump in the request for assistance for utilities and rent and mortgage payments. The Senior Citizen Center has funded, as of 2 or 3 weeks ago when they put the application in, almost 1,400 unfunded meals during COVID-19 that the Senior Citizen Center has had to serve. And they've made it happen. The Boys and Girls Club has been serving 625 evening meals every week. And of course, they face additional costs in providing those meals safely. They have additional needs for sanitizing and packaging and needed help with the expense there, because that requires additional funding. So those are the agencies that we've been able to help. The categories, the EFSP program is specific in the type of categories the funding can go towards. Just to summarize, for the last couple of years, how much we've been able to allocate in Nacogdoches County for served meals. We've allocated $19,479 for other food. That would be like what the Hope Food Pantry provides. $43,282 for other shelter to help with hotel lodging. $4,000 for supplies. That's $4,226 that's going towards the Boys and Girls Club. Utilities payments, $46,021, and then a couple thousand for administering the program, such as paying to place the ad and other administrative costs. Then we have more that's going to be coming our way soon, because we just submitted an application for the state set-aside funding. There are 2 parts to the FSP funding award. One is direct, where the national board allocates the money directly to the county to distribute to the agencies. Then there's a state set-aside award, so that each state gets a certain amount that they in turn can decide which counties to send that money to. So we have put in an application for additional funding from phase 37 and phase CARES for Nacogdoches County. When we get that in, we will be able to allocate additional funding to these agencies. So we're very excited about this. This is what we do in United Way. We exist to match resources to needs in our community. We're proud to have done that. We look forward to continuing this worthwhile program. Live United. Gary Lee Ashcraft, your turn, if you can.
Well, here I am. Good job, Caroline. Can you all hear me this time?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's good. She has resurrected that program, and I wanted you all to know what we do, and it's exciting. I'm very proud of her. Steve Davison, who runs the Boys and Girls Club in the counties around us, wanted the business leaders to know. Some of the business leaders, they've been downtown and other places talking to business leaders, and some of the problems is getting employees to come to work because they got to take care of the kids. And so he wants everybody to let their employees know they can take them now to the Boys and Girls Club. It is open for business. He has sent an email, I hope, Kelly, to you and Wayne, and that will have all the information rather than me trying to spit it out because I'm not that good and we don't have the time. But of times they're open. He wanted to assure you all that they are doing all the things that Travis talked about: wash your hands, social distancing. How you social distance kids, I don't know, but I saw him do it. And the pools are open. You need to get reservations if you go to the pool, if you're an adult. All the hours for all of this will be posted on the chamber website, and we'll do what we can to get it up on our social media. That ends our report. Thank you, Wayne Mitchell, for including us on this agenda.
Thank you, Caroline and Gary Lee, for that thorough update today. You know, it occurred to me as we heard all of the presentations today, look at the resources that we have on the state, the federal level, including U.S. Chamber and our great representative, Senator Nichols and Representative Clardy, and the resources of United Way worldwide. We're blessed in Nacogdoches to have so many folks willing to mobilize to help us navigate these very difficult waters. We're well positioned to not only survive this period, but to come out of it positively. We did have a couple of other stakeholders on the line. If they have any announcements they'd like to make quickly, so that we hit our 11 a.m. benchmark for conclusion, I'd welcome them. Anybody got any announcements, feel free to make it. If not, I'm going to thank all of you folks for participating today. John Gonzales, it's a pleasure to have you, and I hope you convey to your colleagues at the U.S. Chamber how much we appreciate all you folks are doing on our behalf, and let us know in any way. You'll be pleased to know we have written letters of support on some of the issues that you raised here already, but we're standing ready with pens and paper ready to mobilize on anything you think is important. Thank all of our presenters today for their contribution to this call. I do want to remind you in closing that our colleagues and friends from the NMC Medical Health will be making the presentation on Tuesday on the 9th. Trust me, I've seen what they plan to present, and I think it's going to be a reality check for many of us about the whole impact of COVID-19, and it's not a conference call that you'll want to miss. It'll be very educational, very informational, and help prepare us to continue to navigate these waters. Have a wonderful week, everybody, and thank you for joining us today.